Hello, emerging mothers. Listen, I have to apologize because earlier I did click go live and then here it is. I ended up not live. That was earlier today. And so now I'm redoing my message to make sure that I'm connected with you and you're receiving this information. So listen, this is what I want to ask you today. Are you prepared for the phase of what many call empty nesting? That's what many call it. And so we'll talk a little bit about that throughout our session on today, because I'll share with you a name for it that I'll be using because I see it as something different. So are you prepared for the phase of empty nesting? I bring this question to mind specifically because there are some in our group who, of course, they have one child, and that one child has graduated from high school and will be leaving, transitioning out of the home. And then there's some in our group, of course, who have DM'd me, and I want to address their concerns as well, but they have multiple children, and now after having 2 children transition out of the home, they still have one left, and I want to address their concerns because they're shifting into that phase as well. And so I want to address those concerns, those thoughts. So from time to time, I'll be asking you to drop your thoughts, drop your questions in the chat. That's what we will talk about on today. So for those of you whom I have yet to meet, of course, via DM, I'm Dr. Michelle Lloyd, CEO, founder of Lloyd Learning Labs. We're located right here in Sugar Land, Texas, and I am here to serve you. So to address that question, you know, it's interesting because when we even think about that term empty nest, I tend to have a different perspective as it pertains to that word. When I think about empty, I'm thinking about, deserted. I'm thinking about devoid. I'm thinking about maybe dry or hollow, or I'm thinking about vacant. I'm thinking about unoccupied. I'm thinking about those types of adjectives, which my home has yet to be anything but empty. Now, I know that they say that empty nesting is when your children, they grow up and then they shift out of the home. But nonetheless, my home still isn't empty. Of course, even after my youngest daughter leave out, it's going to be myself and my husband. Our house is occupied. And then when we think about empty and then nest, by no means is my home a nest. I see no twigs, I see no branches, there aren't birds flying to and fro. Yes, I do have a picture of of course, some flowers here in my frame. However, there's no brown dirt in my home, and so I think I'm going to shift myself away from that term of empty nesting. What I see for my home is I see a home that's full, that's meaningful, that's worthwhile, that's abundant. I see these things. And so all I'm saying right here and right now is that I believe right now that I am going to begin shifting that word. And I'm telling you right now so that when you hear it in the future, you'll know what I'm referring to. As opposed to empty nest, I think what I'm going to call my home, my abode, our situation, our environment here, I think I'm going to call it a worthwhile wellspring. I think that's what I'm going to start calling it. So I'm telling you that term right now, that I'm going to shift away from that empty nest because that makes me, just really, it makes me experience this term of depletedness, which that's so not the case because I am already preparing. I want you all to know I'm already preparing for that phase of my worthwhile wellspring, even when our 13-year-old transitions out of the home. So I'm thinking about that right now. I'm preparing about what I am hoping that myself and my hubby and even my daughters who will be young adults will experience as we're going through our phase of worthwhile wellspring. Because when I think about the term worthwhile, I think about valuable. I think about, when I picture worthwhile, I think about productive. I think about fruitful. I think about substantial. I think about serviceable. I think about those types of terminologies. And then when I think about Wellspring, what comes to mind is source. Now we know our Heavenly Father is our source. However, He allows us to be resourceful in reference to giving to our teams. Wellspring, I think about, of course, a fountainhead, that place of inception, which they started off here, and they use this home as a launching pad. I think about a nucleus when I think about Wellspring, and also a spot of inspiration or a seed bed. Those are the things I think about. So I'm just sharing up front that when you hear me talk about what some may call empty nesting, but I now call a worthwhile wellspring, then that's what I'm referring to, because I see all type of productivity, I see all type of service, I see all of those phenomenal, positive, uplifting, motivational, and inspirational adjectives and focuses that comes from our launching pad. So just wanted to give you a heads up there. And as we're talking about this particular phase, I want to make mention of this. When I think about that phase, I think about what has really practically dominated my life before now, and still is still involved right now, of course, because our youngest, she's still involved in sports. And so my oldest daughter, India, my second daughter, Iman, and our third daughter, Ivana, were all involved in sports. And so what I like to do is I'd like to take the first letter, or really I'd like to take the letters of the word sports to talk about how I foresee that phase, if you will, of worthwhile wellspring. Let's start with S. We have sports, which is SPORTS. Let's begin with S. During that time, after all of my daughters have left the home, I see myself, because of course we still have 4 years before we hit that phase, but I see myself serving. That's the word that I'm going to use for S. I see myself continuing to tap into my God-given gift. When I talk about serving, one group of people, one tribe of people that I see myself serving is you. I see myself bringing information, bringing knowledge, tossing tips and dropping gems for you as it pertains to what I've already experienced in reference to my teens transitioning out of the home, and then how you can be better prepared so that when your teens transition, then there's a level of confidence, and there's a level of surety, and there is a level of worthwhile focus when they transition out. Will that be an emotional time for you? I'm sure it will. But by the same token, you will have a level of confidence knowing that you have done everything you could with what you had at the time you were given to make sure that they were prepared. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be serving. And let me ask you this. So for those of you who are listening under the sound of my voice right now, drop down in the chat, what will you be doing during that time of worthwhile wellspringing? During that phase, what will you be doing to serve others? Because really, let's be honest, that is the rent we pay to live right here on this earth. We ought to be helping others. We ought to be serving others. We ought to be bringing value to those in our community and those outside of our community. That's what we're called to do. So drop down in the chat what you foresee yourself doing during that phase of doing that worthwhile, of course, or well worth phase of that worthwhile wellspring phase. Share with me that down in the chat. That's S. Next is P. During that phase, I find myself being peaceful, just embracing a plethora of quietness. Okay, now let's be honest. When we have a child or multiple children in the house, of course, I'm sure you will agree with me that from time to time there are a plethora of devices going on all the times. You know what? When our three daughters were living here, of course, you know, we would have the television on downstairs. We'd have the television on upstairs. We would have, of course, you know, the front door open and closing. Maybe the refrigerator's open. Maybe we hear, of course, the microwave that is beeping, or that's going because someone has some food items in the microwave. We hear beeping from text messages. There's all types of sounds going on throughout the house, whether I'm upstairs or downstairs. And so P is for peace. There will be just an insurmountable amount of peace that will just take over. Am I upset about that? Absolutely not. I welcome it. Or in the midst of all of those different tones, whether the volume is high or if the volume is low, then there could be some debating going on between teens. And so all of that going on all at once. And it's so interesting because, you know, this peace that we used to have possibly at the moment of inception, when we were unable to sleep, mothers, that's when that peace, let's think about it, began to dwindle away. And then we give birth, and then you know what? From there on, we're up to 2 a.m. in the morning, we're in bed late, we're at the emergency room. I remember this one particular time, my oldest daughter, we had just gotten her ears pierced, and she was probably about, I don't know, maybe about 5 months or 6 months old, 4 months, something along those lines. And she had her, no, well, you know what? She probably was just a little older. She got her ears pierced at maybe 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. And then as time went on, of course, she'd have her little earrings in. And so when she was maybe about 3 years old, she'd had her earrings in for a while. You know, she would have a habit of maybe turning her earring, or she would have a habit of playing with her earring at night. You know, we think she's in bed and maybe she's sleeping, but you know, she'd lay in the bed and maybe she's unable to get to sleep, and then she's of course playing with her earring. And then this one particular night, her earring went inside of her ear. And so that part that sits right here, and it was like a little post at the time, it went inside of her ear. So where were we 2 a.m. in the morning? We were at the emergency room so they could get that out of her ear that had gone deep. And so that's when that piece leaves. That piece leaves at the point of inception, and then we give birth, and then of course over time, of course, it dwindles. And so, of course, we're up in the morning early. We're at sleep late at night because, of course, we're interacting and we're making sure that we're raising these teens or raising these children, of course, appropriately. So peace. So we already have S for serve. We already have P for peace. And then organize. So during that phase, in this worthwhile wellspring phase, of course, then becoming more and more organized is key. And so if we are during that time, of course, we were unable to reach that point because what were we doing? Children were involved in sports. They were involved in plays at school. So at 4 years old, started in gymnastics. After that, then soccer, softball, volleyball, tennis, landed solidly on basketball, on a traveling AAU team. So of course our time has been on land, up in the air. Of course, was there a lot of time to be organized? How could we find it to be just fully and organized as we'd want to be? And so of course, you know, during that time, during that phase of our worthwhile wellspring, then of course we'll have time to renovate, we'll have time to repair, all of these different types of things during that phase. Are we looking forward to it? Absolutely. We absolutely are. So S for serve, P for peace, O for organize. So listen, mothers, drop in the chat right now what room in your house most needs to be organized. I'd like to hear from you. What room in the house most organized? What needs to be the most organized? Okay. Thank you for dropping. Thank you for dropping. And then guess what? So we have S, P, O, and then R. R is for relationships. And so that during that phase, we'll have plenty of time to focus, to dwell on relationships. First and foremost, a relationship with the master. Yes, absolutely. Up 4:35 a.m. in the morning, in my prayer closet, praying, my daily devotion, journaling, quiet, so I can make sure that I am clear on what he would have for me to focus on for the day. Just like the manna with the children of Israel, of course, it's spoiled. They weren't able to take that into the next day. Can I take those same plans, unless he says otherwise, to the next day? There could be something that he wants me to do, someone he wants me to connect with, someone's life he wants me to impact the next day. I have to make sure that I'm communing with him so that I can get that most updated news from him, so I can have a deeper relationship with the master. Secondly, I can make sure that I am just connecting with my high school sweetheart, my hubby. You know, by no means will I have to say, okay, so who are you again? Because we've been connecting all along. Of course, a lot of times in passing because things have been so busy. But this is a time now to connect deeply, and really just be in love with my high school sweetheart all over again. And then, of course, connect now with these new people in my life, these young adult daughters, and to just make sure that they're updated on what we're doing, and maybe scheduling right now, maybe taking an annual family trip abroad, maybe going to Dubai or taking a trip to do some mission work or something along those lines. So making plans for when all of them are out of the house, of course, making sure that we're still connected and we're remaining cohesive as a family, but of course making those plans right now. So you know what? It's all about creating that transition plan. They're out, there's some regular things during the months that of course you can connect with your adult children in doing. And then also, guess what? What about those friendships, those girlfriends that you had back before you even had children? And so maybe they're over there somewhere, you're not quite clear where they are because you all have lost touch. Reconnecting with them, going out for brunches or beverages. I received an invitation today, and I need to connect back with the soror who is wanting to do lunch. I need to make sure that I connect back with her, and we schedule a time next week prior to me skipping off to Chicago towards the latter part of the week next week. But I need to make sure that I connect back with her so that we can enjoy a meal together and catch up. So that's so important. And then guess what? Making sure that I'm connecting with myself and making sure that my health, I take vitamins. Other than that, no meds at all, because all along I've been working out on the elliptical and sometimes the treadmill and at the gym at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, and making sure that my health remains intact, because I'd still like to have some energy to enjoy life. The way things were, or similar to the way things were before I even had children. So making sure that I'm remaining in touch with me and my health, and just practicing self-care, mani-pedis, and all of those different types of things. I want to be have the energy to go to do those things as often as I'd like to. And then relationships at my church. Oh my goodness, I need to make sure those remain intact. I'm unable to express how important those at my church, my brothers and sisters in Christ, how much I love and appreciate them, just like I love and appreciate each and every one of you all. But just making sure that, yes, relationships are intact, my neighbors even. During this phase, You can reconnect with your neighbors. Do I spend a lot of time outside? Let's be honest. I'm an indoor person. But nonetheless, who's to say that we couldn't have, we would have block parties often, okay, where, there are about 9 families on my block. And none of us are from Houston. Neighbors from Chicago. I'm originally from St. Louis. There's my next door neighbor. They're from Oklahoma. Then also we have, of course, other neighbors from other cities, other states. And so on the holidays when we're here, of course, we bring out tents, and our neighbor roasts a pig. We hire a DJ. The police department blocks off our street, and we just have a block party. So it could be time to really, really invest in those outings and make sure that we're connected with neighbors, etc., and with our community. And so that's relationships. Listen, how can we just really go through a long mourning stage with our teens transitioning off? How can we go through? Because guess what? There's so much to do. Look at all this that we mothers have to do. I tell you, to make sure that our lives are plentiful and resourceful and productive and inspirational and motivational and encouraging to others. Okay, so that's, serving, S-P, peace, O, organized, R, relationship, 2 more. T is time. Time. Listen, we are able to reclaim our time. Are we not? Yes, we are. I can remember, let's be honest, before there were even taxis or Ubers or any of that, who were the Ubers and taxis, and it was us mothers. It was us. Picking up, dropping off, daycare, sports, piano lessons, all of that. Mothers should have just gotten together and just started a company, I tell you, because we were in transportation mode since day one. So will we be able to capture that time back for ourselves? We most definitely will. And think about all the things that took time. Okay, we went from like our breast pumps, for those of us who nursed. I nursed all 3 of mine up until they were like 12 months, a year old. So we went from the breast pump and strollers and diaper bags all the way up until, we're connecting with our counselors and helping them to complete college applications and apply for scholarships and all of that. So all of that time was pouring into our teens. So you tell me, what will you, and drop in the chat, what now will you have time to do now that all of that time is being reclaimed? Oh my goodness, that is an insurmountable level of time that now you will be able to reclaim and then pour into your mission, pour into your vision, pour into your calling, pouring into what God is calling you to do. That's what you'll be able to do. Do we have any excuses saying that, we don't have time? Look at all of the time that was being poured into your teens. Now that they've transitioned off, what else are we able to say as it pertains to time? We have time now. So I encourage you, emerging mothers, to please make sure we're allocating that time that we were placing over there on our amazing, talented, focused, driven, encouraged teens over into what we're called to do on this earth. That's a wrap. That's all I'll say about time. And then last but not least, that last S. S for serve, P for peace, O for organized, R for relationship, T for time, and then guess what? S for sleep. So when it comes to sleep, I'm simply being transparent. there may be another guru that you may want to ask about sleep. From the moment that I began to lose sleep as I was writing my book, completing my dissertation in 2017, then I wish I can say that we need to get sleep, which we do. But am I an expert on that? I'm uncertain if I'm the one, because I may head to bed late and then I may be up at 5-ish. And so, at the gym or in my prayer closet or somewhere like that. But sleep is most definitely important. I advise you to get sleep, please. And that's something that I'm working on, getting more sleep, and even having to set my timer to say, off of, no more writing content for mothers, no more, of course, connecting with my team and preparing for staff meetings the next day. And so usually I'll have to set a timer on my phone to tell myself, no more, let's wrap it up, let's head to bed, and then let's just be renewed in the morning in order to pick up where I left off. And just realizing that, listen, getting everything done today is just not going to happen. Let's just roll some of this over until tomorrow. So I'm sure that you may know someone who's who is disciplined as far as heading to bed. I encourage you to speak with them, please. Is that my area of expertise? I have to be honest. I have to share with you with candor. I must be transparent to say that you probably have a family member or a friend that's their area of expertise. But I'm working on it. When I arrive there, I'll let you all know. But listen, in a nutshell, mothers, those are my tips. So when you're in that phase of worthwhile wellspring, that's what this is right here. And that's what I'm encouraged that yours is as well, that launching pad that you have there. I am encouraged that you will practice what we discussed right here, right now. That you'll serve, and that you're going to have peace during that phase after all your teens have transitioned out. If that's the case, some of you want your teens to just remain there, just until the very end. And guess what? That's okay. Still try to practice and incorporate these into your life. Serving, having peace, being organized. Bedroom, living room, informal living room upstairs, formal dining room here, formal living kitchen. Organize, please. Relationships, hone in on those relationships. Reclaim your time, and please, like me, find some time to sleep. Listen, I love you all. Know that next Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time, I'll be here dropping more gems and tossing more tips. I invite you, of course, to join me Monday, 6 p.m., the first day of our masterclass. We'll go about 9 days. I just want to toss, and I want you to grab. I want you to embrace. So I'll see you on Monday, 6 p.m. Love you all. I look forward to seeing you there. Take care. Bye.